Hey, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Back again.
Okay.
How have you been?
Okay.
It's nice
Yeah.
that the weather's getting warmer.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. Did the last time I was here, did he see what you said? Okay.
Oh, he doesn't watch. He's like
He's like,
technology
waste his
incompetent.
time.
You know, he doesn't watch that stuff.
I know, I got to thinking about that, and I went home that night and I was kind of giggling a little bit. I was
Yeah.
like, that is something that I would do.
I know, it's so funny. No, he's.
By the way, let me tell you about
Exactly.
this.
Yeah, he was probably not even home yet,
Yeah.
number one, and number two.
Has he been busy?
He watches Fox News, and so he could.
That's a rabbit hole.
It is.
Yeah.
That's his entertainment.
Yeah.
When I'm not around, especially, he
Yeah.
likes to watch that. So.
That's reasonable, though. The problem is you just don't know who to believe anymore.
Yeah.
So, and this craziness with the Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
My latest joke has been, have you heard there's a new variant of COVID-19?
So,
It's called the Ukraine.
oh my gosh.
There you go. Always good for a laugh.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So, yeah. But,
Oh, he's been staying pretty busy.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
All the stress that comes with it, but yeah, he's busy.
Yeah.
Which we're grateful for that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's when it's slow you worry, and when it's too busy you worry. And basically you just have to resign yourself to worrying the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Finally got my vehicle washed today. I went twice yesterday and couldn't get through the line because it was out on the street.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided at lunch I would go by, and I still waited in line 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah.
Somebody needs to open one of those car washes like they have all over Utah.
That's what I ended up doing, was it Sunday. I'm just like, because I got up early to go spray it myself, but it was still so cold. And then, I drove down there, ran it through the car wash, and I'm in the truck, and like, everybody's just like all around me, and I'm like, guys, I don't know where you want me to go,
Yeah.
but you need to move so I can move.
Yeah.
They're just not used to big trucks.
Big trucks,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, please just get out of the way.
I know. Yep. It's crazy busy. I was gonna go to Utah this weekend, but my granddaughter's competition is all on Thursday. It's supposed to be spread out over 3 days. She's
Basketball.
dance. It's the second, the little one.
Okay,
Is
the
10.
oldest one's
The oldest one's basketball.
Okay.
The middle one is 10. She's the dance girl.
Okay.
And we were supposed to go to Provo and dance. She's supposed to dance 3 days. And they put all of hers in one day, which helps my daughter, but I can't just go at 8:30 in the morning and then I'm still there at 7:30 at night. So I said, I'm not coming. I'll wait till the next weekend. If
Yeah.
she's back there again next weekend, so.
Those kids, there is a lot to keep busy.
Oh, it is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. She had to get braces the other day. Her mouth is so small that she has more teeth than she has mouth.
Oh.
And she's already had like 6 teeth pulled over the last few years. Well, they're not all crooked, but they're just the way they're
Just
coming
tight.
in. The dentist said we've got to get braces on them before they get ahead of us. So once she gets adjusted to those braces, then she has to have 4 permanent teeth pulled.
Oh. That's miserable. I
And then
didn't
my
know they
little
still
grandson
did
that's
that.
7, he has to have 6 fake teeth pulled because his mouth is small like hers. So we're spending a lot of time in the dentist and the
Yeah.
orthodontist right now.
That sounds nice. They're not cheap.
They are cheap.
There's no insurance for that. Is there?
Yeah.
I don't think there is.
I don't think there is. I think you can put, is it the HRA or HSA or
Oh,
something
yeah.
that you can, I think that's what she has.
Oh, that's good.
And they put so much, they have insurance, but then they do that too. So they help people. Because deductibles and stuff are so expensive that you get out a lot of money before your insurance.
Before it kicks in, yeah. good. Mason, he's at the U. He came up last night. He loves it down there.
Good.
He's just loving school. And then Aiden, I don't see him as much as I used to. Just stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
You know, he does the online stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He still comes up and you know, competes in the club stuff. Speech and tech. But yeah, it's just everybody's busy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Running.
You know, when we were young and had kids young, there just wasn't that stuff to do. I don't know how my daughter keeps up with it. She works
Yeah.
60-hour a week, and my son-in-law is about the same, and then running 3 kids around all over Salt Lake.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, they need a nanny. I tell her that all the time. A nanny with a van.
Yeah.
Shoving the kids.
Yeah. It's expensive and it's time consuming.
Hey,
Hey, did you get my email?
good.
Where are we going?
I'm good on.
I appreciate it. You know, I will say something. I mentioned it to somebody, and they kind of giggled a little bit, but actually, you know what? Are they meeting right now?
The board, yeah.
If you can grab Cassie and maybe Mr. Thomas, I think we can touch bases in about 2 minutes, take care of a lot of things, and I think it will remedy a lot of potential problems that we might have tonight. Honestly, like I think if everybody can just come with some openness, I think we can knock some stuff out. I can ask for a couple of things if they are willing to do it. I'm out. If you want to just, I just text Doug.
Okay.
So, but if not, it's going to be a repeat.
I can try.
Okay, I appreciate it. And then you can have a dinner, which we might do anyway. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just everybody's busy.
I thought if I was older and I was retired, I could probably stay with her during the week and show the kids.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be
It's not
fun
so
though?
stressful, because, I mean, literally, you look at their phones and they have this calendar, and it looks like a professional calendar. To
Right.
keep up with who has to be where, at what time, on which day. And so they can't even make appointments without looking, because there's so much going on.
Yep. And
It's
then,
good to be busy and good to have a lot, but sometimes it's best to take a break.
there's definitely, yeah, and then just time to decompress with
Yeah.
the kids.
Yeah, and I think it's the hardest for my daughter, because kids are so adaptable.
Yeah.
And trying to keep up the house and then help the kids and work.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
come to her for everything, you know.
Uh-huh.
As soon as she gets home, she has no time till they go to bed.
Yep. Yeah.
But like I told her, I said, enjoy it while you can, because you'll win and it'll all be gone.
Yeah. In the scheme of things, and I tell that to my friends with younger kids. In the scheme of things, it's like nothing. I was with a friend the other night, and he's just like, "Oh man, my kid is driving me crazy." I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna be sitting in your house in 10 years begging for that."
Because then their lives are so busy, they don't
Yeah.
have time for you.
Yeah, I have to catch myself with Mason in particular. I'm like, stop texting him, stop calling, text because I miss it,
Yeah.
and he's trying to go.
It's find his way too.
Yeah.
It's an adjustment to adjust from that relationship when they're home to that relationship when they're out on their own.
Hey.
me, how's your mom doing? I
She's
never
good.
see her.
She's good.
Good.
Yes. Yeah. Staying busy.
Yeah, that's good. It's funny how you find time, or find ways to fill your time
Uh-huh.
when you think you won't.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do.
You know, if you would just apologize
Yeah,
right
can you
now,
pull it that
we
way?
wouldn't have any problem.
Can you pull it a little bit further?
Let's give it about 2 feet. So I get my
Should we
small
see forward
land through
too?
there.
Keep going.
I'm caught on something. Okay.
I think it's too soon to start joking.
Just because you have more stuff to go over doesn't mean that you get to be more than 4. You get 3. So, condense it and make it go.
Hey.
I don't always like to
That
just
doesn't
keep
count.
reminding you.
I've only been able to, I'll just say, you see, I really like to make it the bottom number here on this one, so that's how we'll do that.
Is this Eric?
This is Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just put
John?
somewhere.
Yes.
Are we moving?
I could-
That's quite a statement you just made.
Wow.
Well,
This is Eric.
it's just
Whose
my,
is this?
it's just my, this is
That's
Eric.
Eric.
Oh, this is you.
So, after our conversation yesterday,
What then?
Okay, are you brilliant enough with Word not to delete a page?
You know it.
Do you? Okay, then you want to do this for me, because I don't know. I've got 2 pages here, but I don't need this
he's
blank
trying to
one.
see if we can stretch it far enough so that we can say, oh, well, we're gonna move that.
What did you do?
I'm just brilliant.
I guess so.
So,
Oh, so I can go up a little bit further, right?
we'll look at,
Well, that means
Well,
because of margin.
because it's a margin, yeah.
Yeah, but
That.
that's not my
oh,
son.
yeah,
This
I'm
is
gonna
your
look at,
stuff.
yeah.
It is a
Like
copy.
the vending machines, I think, are a priority because they bring in
It's
revenue.
a revenue source.
Right.
Let's do one of those.
Okay, do you know how to change the color of the outline of the box?
On that.
I
I was
don't know how to do that one.
Here, let me give you, before you.
Rock
do that.
Springs,
Okay,
and
no, that makes sense.
she-
I was gonna say.
she was
if
able
you're
to
gonna-
pay for a $14,000 machine in
I know.
performance.
They've done
That's-
$1,000.
Yeah, you know, we're not
Right,
gonna
so-
see as much because we don't have as many kids.
Jared, are we live?
Got it?
But I just,
I think it's probably under.
maybe not the one.
Yeah. Kind of.
Famous words.
That was
Format.
all of their machines at the high school. Well, yeah, all the machines. And I don't know how many
Oh, Sheila.
specifically are there, but
How are you?
I'm good, how are you doing? Because I did.
Hey, Sherry.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And then switched them.
I never landed on anything.
Here he goes. We start going to the.
Well, and then we'll put in your number. And be able to use their account.
Seems like we have an extra big.
That's a pretty good.
I'm not.
And if you're doing that 7,000,
Yeah, if I could pay for a machine in a year.
And I can get it up.
What's the?
Yes.
Oh, that's.
That's the grounds cost for the
Horse shit. I got all kinds of stuff to do.
You do?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
No, I've got to talk.
Oh, at the legislative session?
Well, yeah, that one, and I've got some other stuff I want to bring up. This tablet has been giving me fits.
She's coming. So, how long can we carry ESSER funds over for retention and hiring? You got just that time frame, or can you go 10 years with it, or can you put us out?
I heard you guys have Kelly Saxton coming.
2024 it has to be done.
I love her. It was so
Yes, or 3. Okay.
I said that will be a good one.
They were
But that's what I was saying, if you had the ability to put the money somewhere to spread it out over so many years.
I've known Coskel and I grew up, well, Becky and I grew up together, but we lived together, like I can remember.
And then get reimbursed.
Coskel.
Yeah, they get reimbursed.
I remember they're really good.
Yeah, she's very excited.
Yeah, when she told me that, I was like,
Good, how are you?
sorry, you know.
We meet tomorrow night? All right.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think she's,
I will not be there.
like, I think she would struggle.
I know you guys are heartbroken.
She's gonna be so good. I'm so excited.
We are.
You might get out of there early.
Maybe.
We are,
But
brother.
does Kara just do nails, or does she do, she doesn't do hair and stuff? And so Kelly would be doing hair.
There we go.
Have to come and sneak over there.
I tell you, I have talked to Cassie. Man, she's
Oh, yeah.
dealt with this really, really well.
Just do it. Now, just, are you guys up over in that area, or where are you?
No, so we're off Aspen. So take a ride by the Sinclair, off of 150, go up Aspen, take a left on Briar. We're on Briar.
That was my password.
So as you're coming up Aspen, we're a big house.
I see everybody back there with their laptops. Video, can you do all your administrative? Maybe.
I just keep teasing her that she's far too talented to not be using her skills.
Becky's so talented.
Traumas, speeches, and everything else. I'm really
So
impressed.
we were little
Thank you. You've got a lot of talent.
They what?
Where's the mic on?
Yeah, what's his plan? Jimmy Price.
Good.
No, good for him. Oh, I love it there. It's a great house.
So-
Yeah, beat it.
What happened to the old?
I'm biased. I think it's a good school.
Too expensive? Weren't you gonna redo the overpass?
We're doing it.
You're doing it.
Yeah. What have you heard?
Well, I don't see anybody over there.
Oh, no, it's not gonna be till 23, 24.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, that's not happening right now.
I thought it was happening.
No.
Oh.
Again, we're government.
I asked him about that, he said,
It's
"Mom,
just
I'm not exactly going out of my
working
way
on the
to
plans right now and tweaking the plans and different things, so.
Okay, I was under the impression that it was 22, 23.
But the legislative body didn't even get out of committee with the ATVs.
get mail from Harvard.
No.
He didn't want to go that
Yeah,
far away, and...
I was there. Talked about wheels to address
Right, exactly.
right into a hall.
Right. And he told us from the get-go, he didn't want to be that far away from home and whatnot, so we kept it, because it's cool to get mail from Harvard.
Sure.
Put it away in his little cedar chest box.
That's
Right.
It's true.
Yeah, I know.
Remember in January, starting at 6 o'clock, and it was dark outside.
Oh, yeah. You only got, what, 2 more weeks since daylight saving time?
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be great.
Thank goodness.
then it'll be 7.
Oh, yeah, you bailed on me.
I'll still
You
be alive.
did,
Wait.
so did he.
I'm losing people at work. Are ya? I was moving a nephew in. You can come on over to the house and see.
Oh, that is great.
I don't think you believe me.
Right
Oh, I
now,
believe
I'm
you.
deciding
Yeah,
between
I believe you.
aerospace engineer at Embry
So whose boy?
or doing computer sciences at
He's my brother, Doug's boy.
Okay, how old is he?
25.
Both of them are great options. It's just really hard to
25,
decide.
married.
Yeah, so I'm one of those.
He's looking for a house here, and they just can't find anything.
So they live with you?
I told them they could move in with me until they find a place, so.
Is that an 18 months lease or 24 months?
It is a 5-year commitment, at least for the money. Now whether they're gonna be there that long.
Hopefully not. Any children?
No, him and his wife and 2 dogs and a cat. So,
How many dogs do you have?
no, we just put our last one down a little while ago. So we had 2 dogs forever there. So I mean, it's set up pretty good for the dogs.
Yeah.
The garage, and they have the dog door out of the garage in the backyard. Huh?
Do what you gotta do. Granddaughter's graduating, she'll be off to college in June. Scholarships and everything. Taking
Oh, nice.
dog and cat.
And where's she going?
Northern Colorado.
Oh, yeah. University of Northern Colorado, UNC.
She went there this weekend to visit the kids.
They used to have a fantastic program for junior college transfers. It was called the Griffin Foundation. And they told my daughter about it, so she filled out an application and stuff for it. And she got an interview. And so they went over there and they interviewed my wife and Sarah. And I said, when you go over there, just make sure you make the committee. Every one of them has to smile or laugh at some point, make eye contact, and then you have it. So she went over there and she told a couple of funny things about her school and different stuff. But anyway, she ended up with a scholarship. So there was, but what it was kids that were going to the University of Wyoming, to UNC, or to Fort Collins, to Colorado State. And it was a $20,000 scholarship for 2 years. So,
I've been to Greeley a couple of times. I've only been to, I went in 1966. We went to Greeley, chased girls, and could drink 3-2 beers.
So was, that's kind of an ag school though. University of UNC.
The ag school's over at Colorado State.
Well, yeah, Colorado State has the ag, but so does University of North Carolina. It's got,
And back then, it was a real good education system to train people, to get a degree to be a teacher. That was teachers. So there were lots of girls.
so my dad has a great story about it. So he was going to college at the University of Wyoming. And CSU and border wars, I mean, it was big time back then, just brutal. So anyway, it was homecoming. CSU comes up and they steal little Joe. They break in and they steal little Joe and take him back so he's not there for the game. And then my dad says, payback. He says the next year the ag department from the University of Wyoming went down and got their ram, the CSU Rams, and castrated their kid back.
And it was a prize ram. That was, yeah.
Sherman may take a month.
I thought he was going to
Didn't get his answer he wanted.
Let me get my computer up, guys. I apologize for my tardiness. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. I want to welcome everybody to our regular board meeting session for the UNT County School District number 1 on March 1st. I can't believe it's March 1st already. So if you want to go ahead and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item up on our agenda tonight is to adopt our agenda. Oh, yes, sorry, I jumped ahead. So we need a motion to end executive session and enter our regular board meeting.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Barker. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So I'm echoing a little bit, so let's see if we move this back a little bit. Okay, now on to our agenda. First item on our agenda is to adopt our agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or changes? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is our consent agenda items. For our consent agenda items tonight, we have our minutes from February 1st. We have our payment of bills and administrative contracts. Is there a motion or any discussion?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Madam Chair, I do have a discussion item. I would like to include in the minutes of this meeting that Dr. Mike Chiquetta has submitted a series of questions to the board. The board will take those into consideration and will respond within the next 30 days. Appreciate Mr. Chiquetta.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself from check 7589.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Down to our presentations. Our first item for our presentations is our Activities Department report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'll try to make this pretty quick. I was told I had 3 minutes.
3?
2.
Wow.
Somebody's way of saying 30.
You've already wasted 30 seconds.
I'll just go through this. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? I'd like to. Yeah, would you start this quick? Yeah, please. You know, I look at activities and I make a statement here at the beginning that everyone knows what's going on in activities all the time. We make the paper quite often, or someone has a complaint about the things that are going on, win or lose or whatever it is. So for the most part, everyone knows what we do in our particular department, but we play a huge role in what goes on in our schools. They talk about the health of your activities, or health of your activities programs based on the number of kids that you have involved in all of that stuff. And we have a tremendous number of kids involved in activities, and that number continues to grow. Before I get there, I want to talk about accomplishments, and most of this stuff, again, you already know. The most important thing to me that went on this particular year is something that you guys did, along with Mr. Thomas, Mr. Williams, Jaron Dennis, a lot of different people, and what that's going to do for kids. I think we underestimate the power of what we do and the little things that matter. And it's not a little thing, obviously it's a very expensive thing, but adding to K-Fackrell Stadium so our soccer kids can be in that stadium is huge. It's not just soccer kids, it's not just football, because I hear that a lot. It's PE, it's marching band. I've talked about this before. When you look at what a marching band can do to a grass field, it's very difficult to let them on there every day to practice. What you guys did created an opportunity for them to be there every day. You look at football practices and football games, we're on that field about 15 times a year. I mean, just put that in perspective. You've got this beautiful facility, and you can only put them on there about 15 times a year because your grass can't withstand it. You look at the changes that are going to occur, the amount of time we're going to be able to put these young people in that stadium. Not only our kids in the community, the rec center, older folks that want to walk the track, that want to stretch sitting on the field. It's going to be huge for our community, huge for our school community, and huge for our kids. And I don't want to spend a lot of time because you know most of this, but when you look at usages, and I stole this information, I think Mr. Thomas shared it with you, stole this information from Sheridan because they just did some research on this after 14 years. Think about it, over 7,000 usages on that field during the life of the field, and it's just a huge addition to what we have going. Measure of effectiveness, I'm going to move on from that. Measure of effectiveness, scheduling, we always have trouble scheduling. Get a lot of questions about scheduling and why we schedule the way we schedule. There's a lot of factors, and I'll talk about that a little later on because I get a lot of questions. Why do you schedule the way you schedule? Why are you playing middle school games on Fridays? Why are all of our middle school games on Saturdays? Because I get that one quite a bit. Why are you're playing high school basketball games on a Thursday? There's a lot of factors involved with that, but that's in terms of our scheduling and communicating our scheduling, I think we've gotten a little bit better. I get fewer questions. A lot fewer complaints because they do understand it. I think that goes along with the communication that we've got a little better at over time. The border war, a lot of you guys know about the border war now, the volleyball tournament that we added a few years back. It's growing in Wyoming, it's struggling in Utah and Idaho. And part of that is trying to get Utah schools to come to Evanston, Wyoming. We know what a great place it is, but for them it's a foreign world. And so to get them to continue to come here is very, very difficult. We have a partnership with a parent group that's trying to help with that. But I hope that this doesn't go away. But if we can't find a way to get more Utah and Idaho teams here, it could be difficult to keep that going. The Evanston Invitational Wrestling Tournament, if you watched that this year, we had the fewest number of teams, as far back as I could remember, that actually participated in the EI. And there's a lot of different things that go along with that. A big part of it is a change in the season dates that the WHSA came up with, and it's just getting worse for us. We have at the same time 3 different large wrestling tournaments going on at the state at the same time, and all of them on this side of the state tend to struggle. There's one up in Cody and Powell, and then there's Star Valley, and then there's Evanston, and we are struggling. It's something that we need to work at and continue to work at because people don't understand when we schedule, we don't schedule just for our school and our kids. We schedule for our community. It's a huge benefit to have these things going on for our community, and we try very hard to make sure that they're involved in that. But that's one thing that we also need to worry about as time goes on. A very positive thing is we added middle school cross country 3 years ago for the girls. We allowed the boys to enter it this year, and we have unbelievable numbers. That's a very popular sport. Almost 90 kids came out for middle school cross country. There's good and bad that comes with that. 2 coaches with 90 kids. Difficult for us, like herding cats sometimes. But it's gone very well, and those 2 coaches have done a great job of kind of getting that going. So I'm going to skip down here. Community partnerships, and goes back to what I talked about before. We really try hard to be good community partners. I think Ms. Welling has done a pretty good job of that, working on the rec board with Scott Ehlers. We've ironed out a few things. I think we have a great relationship with the rec center. It's created opportunities for us. It's created a lot of opportunities for our community members, because we do get the questions. Does the school district care about everyone in the community? And I will guarantee you this: we do. And we've done that through we've shown that through our actions. And I think with the rec board and what Ms. Welling's done there, it's been fantastic. Our Hall of Fame continues to be a very popular event. I've watched homecoming in our community explode. If you've been to the homecoming parade, it's a phenomenal event, and I think a part of that is a lot of the older folks want to come out and see people that they remember from the past, their Hall of Famers or their idols, and that's been a lot of fun. And then again, Evanston activities continue to be an attraction, and we know that. We know that when we host an event here, it brings folks to our community. We want to put on a good show, but we want them to spend their money, and that's important to us as well. An example, this weekend we had the middle school boys Southwest District Championships. That didn't even exist 6 or 7 years ago. I've tried to make sure that we are the ones hosting that on a regular basis, and a big part of that is, one, we want home games for our kids, but also we want our community to benefit from that. So I want to make sure I highlighted that. Some strategic issues, I don't want to go into that after you've spent about $2 million on a new upgrade in K-Fackrell Stadium. There are things that we need to continue to work on, things that we've done. A lot of new stuff we've been able to put together for track especially. All new everything in our track program, and next year everything's going to be brand new. A lot of new stuff, a lot of stuff going on in our soccer program. We have to do some work in the swimming pool area. It's very expensive. Some things I can help out with, and some things I cannot. But I'm not going to ask for anything. I just believe right now everything that's being done for our kids, it's been fantastic, and we'll continue to absorb some of those costs in our budget if we possibly do that. Questions I get about 4A to 3A, we're going to have some changes in many of our programs going to 3A. We've been in football for I think 4 or 5 years now. We're going to also be 3A in wrestling, swimming, cross country, and golf in 2022 and 23. And with that, there's some issues, and I want to give you a heads up. The hardest thing about part of your programs going to a lower classification is there's no guarantee to see more success in those lower classifications, but you still have programs that are in the 4A ranks, and it's not going to look good at times. And don't get caught in that trap as school board members. I would think that when our basketball programs and our volleyball program and our track program, those are the programs that are still going to be tied to the 4A. They're going to be still playing Cheyenne East and Thunder Basin and the Casper schools and Star Valley, who's quickly becoming one of the bigger schools. There's going to be some tough times. And I think at some point, you're going to have parents, you're going to have community members that are going to try to compare what's going on with these programs that have dropped down a classification and with those programs that are still in the 4A, and that's not going to be fair to compare those two. And I'm just making you aware of that because this has happened in the past in other communities. Move on from that as well. Some issues that we have to take care of, but this is not the right time. Potential savings, we try all the time to make sure that we save as much as we can, because that's how I purchase big ticket items. It's very difficult to purchase a $20,000 pole vault pit within my budget if we don't save money for that. We're able to do it. Sometimes it doesn't go over well with coaches and parents, but we try not to waste money. We try to be very frugal. I'm that way by nature anyway. You can ask my wife. But we do as well as we can with controlling that budget. There are some things that we need to look at. Middle school cross-country, we need to maybe add a coach there. Middle school track, we're going to have to add a coach at each one of those schools. Mr. Thomas has allowed me a few times to make additions when we've gone up over the 100 athlete number at each of those schools. I think we're going to see that number consistently over 100 kids at each school, which is phenomenal. It's a great thing. I also want to start thinking about if we're going to keep having to participate in 4A and volleyball and basketball, looking at going back and adding those sophomore programs back in. If we're going to have to compete with those guys, it looks like a lot of the smaller schools like Cody and Riverton and Star Valley and Jackson, teams that at one time were not going to have sophomore programs, have now added those because their numbers have gone up, and we really need to look at that. So just letting you know that there could be some questions from me about whether or not we can do that. I put this in here, questions most often asked. And I think these are probably questions that are asked of you as well, that I hope that I can answer. And the one lately is what activities are going to be in 3A, and I covered that: cross country, boys and girls swimming, wrestling, boys and girls golf, and football. The other one is how many students are involved in activities in the high school and the middle school, because I don't think anyone understands the sheer numbers of kids that are involved in our activities. I look at the high school, through Family ID, almost 1,800 registrations. Now, that doesn't mean 1,800 kids. Obviously, we don't have 1,800 kids. 1,800 registrations, meaning that we have kids involved in multiple activities. That's double our high school population. And we have those numbers. EMS, there's 525 registrations. Again, well over the number of kids that are in those schools, so they're in multiple activities. And DMS is off the charts at almost 900 registrations. And so the numbers are staggering for the size of school that we are. Our kids love being involved. And we have a lot of activities, obviously. We offer a wide range. But you also need to understand these are WHSA sanctioned activities that these kids are signing up for Family ID. There are more activities that we offer that they're not signing up through Family ID, that I wouldn't have those numbers until the end of their school year. So the numbers are amazing. The district does a fantastic job of providing what those kids need, and I just want to thank you for that. Do you have to be a district employee to be a coach? We do not have a policy that you have to be a district employee to be a coach. You have to be certified. You go through the state. Christine does a great job upstairs in the personnel office and making sure those folks have an opportunity to coach if they want to coach. The one area that we struggle with, and maybe that you hear about, is that our support staff, we have a hard time getting them involved in coaching, and that's not a district issue. That's a federal issue. And Mr. Williams could probably explain that a little bit better, but we're restricted in what we can do with our own support staff, which is a shame because they need the money as much as anybody, and they probably do a great job coaching, but we're limited in what we can do with our support staff. Questions about why are there so many events scheduled on weekends or weekdays? I get questions from parents, why is every weekend from the beginning of football season through track season, every weekend I've got to go somewhere? Why don't you have some more of those events on weekdays? Well, there's a lot of factors involved. One is time out of the classroom. Two is finding officials. That's not an easy task anymore. It was not as bad as it is right now, even 5 years ago. Right now, we're struggling finding enough officials and table workers and those types of things. Donna's pulling her hair out every Tuesday or Wednesday as we're getting ready for those events, trying to find those people that are willing to work. And then one other factor that we're dealing with, and our administration's been very good with me, is a lot of the schools around us now have gone to 4-day school weeks. And their weekend starts Friday, doesn't start Saturday. So we went over and played a basketball game in Farson, I think started at 10 or 11 in the morning. But that's their weekend, and that's when we can play them. That's when they have gyms available. That's when they have coaches available. And so we're going to see a little bit more of that in our scheduling. And so that's, if people ask you, we try very hard to accommodate everyone, but we have a lot of different things, many different things that dictate to us where we can host those events. I will tell you, it doesn't matter for my staff. We know we're going to work on Saturday. It's just a matter of how many events we're going to have going on Saturday. That's what it usually is. So they do not complain to me about having to work on Saturdays. So we don't try to avoid Saturdays, and we don't try to avoid any day but Wednesday. Another question I get is, why don't you dismiss coaches? Why are you, they lose, why are you not dismissing them? Well, it's not that easy. First of all, just because you're losing or winning doesn't mean you're a good coach or a bad coach. There are a lot of factors involved in that. I got an opportunity to go coach a bunch of freshman boys during the year, and they won in spite of me. So they did pretty darn well, and that wasn't coaching, that's just pretty good kids. So the other side of that is we don't have a bunch of people waiting in line to come be coaches in Evanston. Our resource there is very limited. I think our coaches do a fantastic job. In many cases, our number one goal is not the wins and losses. I heard this from one of our coaches. The statement in the community is, Bubba doesn't care if we win or lose. But if you believe that, you don't know me very well, because I want to win at everything. But I also understand the situation. And there's more important things than the winning and losing in many cases. I appreciate the email that you sent. It was excellent. And those are the things I want to hear about our coaches. And I think our coaches do a great job of developing young men and young women and making them good citizens, help making them good citizens. Another question I get is, why can't I transport my kid to an event? That's a great question, but it's district policy that we don't allow that. They have to ride the bus to the event. We do allow them to check them off after the event. And I do get calls. A parent will say, hey, we have a doctor's appointment here, or we've got something ongoing. Those are special circumstances, and we do work with those parents, but we don't want to make those a habit. I know as a coach, I always wanted the kids on the bus. I wanted them on the bus going to and coming home, because I think as far as the team thing works is we win together, we lose together, and there's no reason to have a parent in your ear after a win or loss, because that's something we do together. So that's the reason. It's policy not to travel to events in a parent's car. And then if we do decide to allow them to do that, they have to go through the proper channels. They have to go out to the transportation department and go through the process of getting their vehicle checked out to make sure their driver's license is okay and all that great stuff. And so it's not an easy thing to do. We do allow it at times. And The other one that I get is, why can't my student play in multiple sports? That's a WHSA issue. It's not an Evanston or Bubba thing. It's the WHSA only allows you to be involved in one sport at a time. And I will get this question inevitably. Well, you let dance and cheer do it. Well, dance and cheer are not sports. They're activities, and you can be in an activity and a sport at the same time. So throw that out there for you. You guys have any questions to add to those? And the last thing, again, activities continue to be a positive piece of the overall educational process. One of the tools used to show the health of schools' activities programs is numbers of participants, and you guys saw the numbers of participants we have. We have a tremendous number of kids that want to be involved in our activities, and that's a great thing. It causes some logistical issues, but it always works out, and we're happy to have every kid involved because we know the positives that come out of being involved in our programs. And so our goal is to build positive, productive members of society. I don't know what that is exactly anymore. I think times are changing, and you guys are, and Mr. Thomas and our administration in our school buildings are going to have to help me define that, because I do have a different perspective than maybe most. But we need to talk about what we really want our kids to get out of it. And then I have my 3 goals, and I know you're going to laugh at some of these, but a healthy and safe environment. I know we do that all the time. We work hard at making sure our kids are healthy, they are safe. We've made changes over time with our policies and procedures that have helped with that. We've worked with you, Ms. Barker, and that's helped us. We're going to continue to work on those things, but we try to make sure that happens and provide activities for all. I think that's the other thing. What we're getting is kids wanting to be involved in many different things. Student council president, basketball, volleyball player, they want to be involved in many things. Robotics, high school bass fishing. You guys don't know much about that, but we even do that a little bit. So we have kids that want to be involved in many things. We try to make those things happen for them, the opportunities happen. So, and then help build programs that our community can and will be proud of. And I think that's important as well. The culture in your community can be driven sometimes by your activities. You look at maybe a bad example, but Gillette for a long time. They had great activities programs, not just sports, but all activities. They were very proud of those programs, and when you drove through their community, the street signs were purple and gold, and there were camels everywhere. It's just an amazing thing, and ultimately that's what I'd like to see in Evanston, this positive culture that's wrapped around our schools, not only activities, but academics as well. And I think we're a big part of that process. So that's it. Way over my 3 minutes. You guys have any questions for me?
I do. You and Karen. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I have one question, kind of back on your many questions that people ask. I've had a lot of people come and ask me about softball. So can you kind of touch on that?
Absolutely. Softball is a sport that is offered through the WHSA right now. We've been asked to add softball. I'll tell you my criteria for that. You don't want to put a bunch of girls out there that are not prepared for what they're going to get into. One, it's dangerous, and two, it can be, because of the level that they play at in those communities right now, because they have strong Little League softball programs. It would also be embarrassing if we're not prepared for that. And we don't want to get into a situation where we're not putting kids out there that we have not prepared for it. I think our rec center needs to be a big part of that process, and they have. I told a parent group that for us, we need to have about 25 girls, 9 through 12, not kindergarten through 12, because that's what we do here. Well, we had 35 girls out. Well, yeah, but they have to be 9, 12, 25 girls that are interested to field that team. The other thing that I'm really concerned with in Evanston is weather. Well, we deal with something that Casper and Cheyenne and Cody and Sheridan, they don't deal with the weather that we deal with. And I'm a huge baseball person, played a lot of baseball in my life. And there's nothing worse than getting out there and either being hit by a ball in cold weather or try to hit a ball in cold weather. Not a great situation. So I want to make sure we're prepared for that when it comes. I'm absolutely not opposed to it. I think I've mentioned it with Mr. Thomas. It's coming. The rec center needs to help us out with that because you have to have a feeder program. You can't just throw 9 girls out there and say, okay, we're going to play softball. But I would love it. I'm a huge baseball fan, and I'd love to have it. We have a field at the high school, so it would be a pretty easy transition as long as we have interest by the girls. It's a spring sport. It will be competing with soccer and track, but I think it can be done if we get that interest up at the younger ages. And I know we have a young lady that travels and plays and is very good. Just like to see more girls interested in doing that. I have not had anyone approach me in a couple of years, but I did see this year. I made it a point to make sure that I went to see what was going on in the softball programs. I did see a lot more girls trying the rec center softball, so we're not far away from it. It's a long way around that question.
And it's fast pitch, right?
It is fast pitch.
To that, I also do slightly disagree in the fact that I think that more girls would be willing to do it than you believe. So I was actually on the softball team until middle school when I reached the cutoff where I could no longer be on the traveling team that my age group actually formed with my dad coaching. And we even went to a state tournament type thing for it. And I think a lot of those girls would love to do it. Kennedy Belknap, the one you were talking about, was on my team. And I think that even now, they've continued that team, just with different coaches and obviously new girls. But I think you could probably get a lot of interest. And I was just wondering if I were to send out a Google form, maybe to the student body, see how many girls would be interested.
Absolutely.
That'd be something you'd be interested in.
Great. These guys would ultimately make that decision. It will not be my decision. It'll be these guys. And yeah, I think it'd be great to have them sign up and see how many we have that have played before. Now, I know that schools put that out there and they had 50 girls sign up, but 35 of them had never played before. There's a big difference. You play high school basketball, you play high school volleyball. If you had never played basketball before in your life, could you play high school basketball?
No, it would be rough.
No, and same with volleyball, and that's my concern. You don't just go out because we offer the sport. It becomes dangerous for everybody, and I don't think we want to get into that. But yes, how many girls were out when you played? How many girls do you have on your team?
When I played, I believe we had 15 out of a grade level group of, I think, 2 or maybe 3 years.
Yeah. It's a good start. Like I said, I'm all in if we have that feeder program. We want to make sure that we're able to compete with that. So
I
good
think you're right, we
information.
need more rec center, to maybe even promote a little more, because my daughter did it this year, but we were gonna do baseball, and I don't know how we ended up in softball. But, it was a good program, but there definitely wasn't.
And was it
wide enough
fast pitch
girls.
through the rec center?
Well, I don't know, they're 9 through 12 or so, or maybe even 5 through 12. There was a couple real littles and a couple real bigs, but.
Exactly what I'm saying.
But yeah, I think we ought to, maybe, I don't want to say push some of those groups, because our T-ballers and stuff are kind of all boys and girls mixed. I wonder if they could do a little, even when we start getting into the coach pitch, kind of encouraging more softball.
That might be something that you look at too, is get a group of kids that are in the middle school, for example, that start, okay, when you're a freshman, we will have a high school softball team, but you need to make that commitment.
But it's through the rec.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk to them.
Any other questions?
I have
Mine.
Well, what's your turn? It's my turn now. Mr. O'Neill, on the classification changes where these sports will move from 4A to 3A, who makes that decision?
It's based on numbers. And right now, in some sports like football, it's 10. The top 10 play 4A, and then below that's 3A, and same with the other sports as well. It's top 12, and that's why we're moving down. Star Valley and Jackson are moving up, and Evanston is moving down. And so you have Evanston, Green River moving down, Jackson, Star Valley moving up. And I don't know, there's a reclassification cycle that's coming here next year. I don't know what they're going to do with all sports. I think it's one of the most difficult things that our state does to our schools, to have kids in 3A in one sport and 4A in another, and you're going to lose interest in some sports because they're going to see, hey, that sport, they're doing really well. This group's not doing very well, and it really may be your competition that's causing the not playing well or winning, and those are my concerns. There are school districts like Sheridan has flat said, we're not moving down in any sport, we're going to stay one classification in all of our activities, we don't care where anybody's going, because Jackson and Star Valley are growing quickly. Star Valley could be well over 1,000 here in the next 2 years. Jackson's not going to be far behind. If you look at their projected numbers, Green River and Evanston, Riverton, we're staying about the same. I don't know if we're going to get an influx with what's going on over in Kimmer, but right now we're pretty stagnant compared to what's going on with other school districts. But there is a reclass cycle coming, and I'll know more about where everybody else is going to be probably next fall. I'll know more about it, so.
Great. Can I go now?
You can go now.
Mr. Peterson.
This is to Jaron, and it is to Mr. Williams, and it's to you. I seen on there that you had the gym floor, but you went over it. And I think that discussion's been before. We got one more time that we can finish that floor, and then we're gonna have to replace it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In areas.
Huh?
In areas.
In areas.
That's the stickler to that is because of that flood that happened.
Is it in the 90s? Yeah, it's in the 90s.
Yeah, longer than that.
93,
90s.
Yeah, 'cause I'm saying-
We can do it one more time, but I've got some areas that I can't do anymore, so we really
Oh, okay.
gotta look at a new gym.
Yeah, because that gym floor is what, 47 years old, going on 50 years?
Yeah, it's.
So is there anything out there as far as budgetary-wise that we're looking forward to, major maintenance? Can it be utilized for something like that, or is it?
I'll address that when I come up.
Don't steal his thunder.
Oh, I am so sorry.
That's why I didn't talk a lot about.
Bubba slipped me that note and said, hey, shut him down early, so.
You know, we do, I know we have a big ticket item being completed this summer and fall, but there's still many things that have to be done. This is an old school district in terms of buildings. When you look at the high school, you look at, well, EMS is fairly new, and that's a very nice floor, but our swimming pool area at Davis Middle School, and I won't steal your thunder, but we have things that we need to make sure that we take care of. You know, like diving boards. There are 3 diving boards that need to be replaced. They're not overly expensive, but $10,000 is a lot of money when you're talking my budget. You know, we have to save to get that. To buy $40,000 worth of starting blocks, competition starting blocks, that's a pretty big ticket item that needs to be taken care of. So there's a lot of those things out there that we need to continue to keep up on, and some of it I can handle within my budget if I save. Some of it's just way out of my abilities within my budget to take care of, but, so. Any other questions? I'm gonna get heckled when I turn around.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for everything. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Technology to work.
So, next for our presentation, department reports for facilities and maintenance technology.
Sure, Superintendent Thomas had to say something and you just jinked me, didn't you? So.
Want me to help?
Get this up and running here. There we go. First off, Madam Chair, members of the board, just wanted to do a big thank you. Just kind of publicly thank all of our custodians, our maintenance folks, technology folks, everybody who works in the different departments that I oversee for all the work that they've done this last year, and continuing to help keep our schools running. Most of what we do is behind the scenes, and we like to keep it that way, but it does take these wonderful folks to do what they do so that we can continue to have kids in school and teachers in school and the things that they do. Also, a big thank you to you as the board and our superintendent for the employment retention. Is that the new word? Employment stabilization retention fund. So just a big thanks for all of that. For some of our employees, that's almost an entire paycheck, which has been huge for them. So thank you with that. I think all of you are familiar with Abbott and Costello. There's many times that we wonder who's on first. And, as you're trying to look at millions of dollars of projects in 3 different departments, there's a lot of things that's going on. And I hope by the end of each year, I know who's on first, who's on second, and who's on third, and maybe who will be coming home. So let's look at our accomplishments. FMX work orders and maintenance and technology, that's how we kind of keep track of everything. And I recognize that my numbers didn't come through here. So off the top of my head, within a 24-hour period, we have about a 90 to 91% rate on accomplishing our maintenance tech orders at maintenance and technology FMX. The only thing that may hold us up is parts, and for those of you who have ordered parts this year, we've had significant delays in different things. Try to, as best as possible, as soon as those parts get in, then our maintenance guys are in there taking care of what they need to. So about a 98% internet uptime. This year we upgraded the entire phone system. We went from an analog to an IP, replacing over 464 phones. That's a lot of phones across the district. Ran near 5,000 feet of Cat6 for various projects and hung an additional 27 TVs. This year we worked with activities, installing the new Huddle cameras. Bubba could probably talk a little bit more about that, but basically in essence this is a camera that our coaches use to keep track of stats. It automatically uploads so that it sends it to the other team, so everything's there. So gone are the days of a helper trying to film and then trying to have the coach upload at night. This has really been good. So we've got one in the high school gym, one in the high school football field, and then one in, is it DMS? Yeah. DMS gym. And so we'll continue to purchase these or help activities with these as they go from there. Placed our PA systems, again, it's an upgrade at both Clark and Horizon. I've got 2 more schools left, and it just provides more functionality and better communication between our classrooms and our office. There's buttons in there that they can hit an emergency button, and then the office is able to actually hear what's going on. So if there's a situation in the classroom where they can't exactly explain things, the office can hear and then immediately send. And so this has been a nice function for them. Last summer we replaced the boilers at Aspen and North, approximately about $245,000, and then we replaced our EMS press box with that. That actually came in a little bit more, but I was able to take the remainder of the funds above the $65,000 that you guys gave to us or allowed us to use out of our major maintenance. Just a couple things when you look at across the district, there's about 2,800, it's almost 3,000 packages are delivered across the district, and that's since July 1st till now. We still have about another 3 months left. 11,000 pieces of mail have been sent out. Staggering numbers, 5,784 reams of paper. That's 578 boxes, and there's 500 pieces of paper in each ream. So put some numbers to that. That's a lot of paper that our schools use. Just talking about paper, you've got about almost 6,000 rolls of toilet paper that's used each year. That's a lot of flushing. 1,500 rolls of paper towel, and close to 6,500 pounds of ice melt. So, and then our custodians clean an average of about 468 rooms across the district every single night. So, amazing what our employees do to continue to maintain the buildings that we have. So, what's our strategic opportunities? What are we working on, focusing on this next summer and this next year? We'll be replacing the UME playground, coming in about $500,000. We've got a project at UME in the bus barn. Some of it's asphalt. I've got a retaining wall that we've got to fix at UME. We also have a drainage issue that we're trying to resolve at UME on the east side of the building. All that's going to be about another almost $500,000. DMS flooring project. We're replacing the locker room floor in the pool area for both boys and girls. The main commons area there in the pool and the commons area of Davis, it's all going to be polished concrete, looking really nice, except for the lockers will be that resin that we've done it on other locker rooms. You guys are aware of our EHS field lighting project, our track, the design. With all the water project that's happening at Evanston High School, we decided this would be a good time to redo the locker rooms as well. So all of the locker rooms, both boys and girls visitors, is going to be redone. New flooring, new shower pedestals, and new lockers. So finally our varsity helmets will actually fit into the lockers without damaging the lockers. So as you can see, we talked about the water project, shower heads. We've got some asbestos to remove. We'll have about another $87,000 at DMS pool. That's because we've got a bunch of filters. We've got a new chlorinator that needs to be put in, another pump. Pools constantly have repairs. We just put in close to $20,000 worth of new lighting in the pool that really helped tremendously. Got that done just in time for regional swim this year, and there's always something to be done in our pools. Just found out we've got some blown speakers in our DMS auditorium, and so we've got about $45,000 that we'll be putting in there. So this summer, hopefully by the end of summer, we will have spent just a little bit of money across the district. All right, now Mr. Peterson, you were talking about some things that we've got to replace. I'm not going to go through all of these. I just want you to quickly, and hopefully you've seen this, staggering numbers on some things that need to replace. Mr. O'Neill kind of alluded to it. Most of our buildings were built in the early to mid 80s. And so that's putting our buildings at almost 40 years old. And, with that, they're getting dated, and there's some things that we've got to do. So as you look at that, 2 roofs, you're going to be well over $6 million in roofs in the next couple of years that we've got to do. Upgrade to our fire alarm systems across most of our buildings. We've got to do the DMS locker room where the PE kids are, update that flooring. So as you can see, staggering numbers in there. Hopefully you did see, we did include the EHS floor, the high school gym floor, which is going to need to be done. And so over the next, I anticipate 6 years, we've got about $13 million worth of projects. Again, very, very staggering, but in order to keep up the buildings that we have, that's what it's going to take. Just as a reminder, for major maintenance, I get a little bit over $2.3 million each year. And so taking that 2.3 and multiplying it by 6 will be really close to that total. Sometimes things do become a priority. We were visiting with our principals today, and there were some things that we were hoping to do this summer that I was like, I had to move some things around to be able to accomplish this. And so we're striving as a department to be able to maintain the best we can. And I hope that you as board members, you probably recognize as you walk into these buildings, we forget that they're 35, 38 years old. They don't look that old, and we've had a lot of compliments from across the community and from other communities, members who've come in and they go, oh, this high school's that old? I wouldn't have guessed it's that old. And so I think that the departments over the years have done a tremendous job of being able to maintain the buildings that we have. But it does take a lot of money to continue to do that. So that's kind of my presentation. What questions do you have for me?
I guess I have one. With the technology we did during COVID with the cameras in the gyms and in the classrooms, are we able to still keep that up to date? Are we using them? Are they still being utilized as planned?
Every game.
Yes.
Middle school?
Every game. They are turned on. Sometimes they don't work as well as we'd like them to, but that's not a Evanston issue. That's a Georgia issue. We also have Huddle in our gym, so if they miss on the NFHS network, Huddle will also be recording at the high school. For example, games on Saturday, they have been recorded by both. And so,
Wonderful. Thank you.
yeah, they have been used. They've been great as far as this.
Joel, I also know that at least girls varsity hasn't so far, but I know boys varsity basketball has even used those cameras to record practices and scrimmages.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I've heard of a few individuals who've reached out to me, grandparents who've been really grateful for that. You know, when they live hundreds and hundreds of miles away, to be able to pull up and watch their grandkids play. It's been a great thing. So we'll continue to maintain those as we can, and as new technology evolves, we'll continue to support that, because I think it's a positive thing for our kids and our community.
Absolutely.
Great question.
So I got a question for you as far as the field is concerned. As we move forward to approve this bid, is this what you loaded up? Because I don't think it's correct. Is that what's going to be part of the bid? Is that document there? Or is there going to be the changes of turning the E the right direction and extending our stripe lines where they need to be? And there's just some things on this one that you're showing that obviously need to be tweaked. They're showing the bleachers still on this one. Is there an updated version of what we are actually purchasing?
So this was as of last week, and I've been doing, it's about every 4 days I get something from them to sign off. I did sign off on the field itself last week with a note stating that we needed to turn the Trident E to face the home crowd, and that it needed to be a little bit bigger with that. Now, as far as the track, they have not sent me any submittals on the track colorations, because I know we talked about some coloring in our lane exchanges. But right now, the colors, as far as what the end zones are going to look like, those are the colors for our end zones, are 2 different colors of green on our field. And then as far as, like I said, the Trident E being switched around.
What about the soccer field configuration? Was there not the conversation of that moving it back to the end zone? Or are we still leaving it forward on it? I thought we were moving that back to extend the length of our field.
They have not sent me a submittal yet on the soccer field. Right now, it's just the football field. And so I will reach out to Lisa again this next week and say, hey, where are we on these lines? As well as, again, I've asked them about the track itself.
Okay.
So
wasn't that the conversation that we had, was moving that back?
Back as far as we could against the end of the end zone.
The end of the end zone to extend
to extend that.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Alrighty, that answers my question. So.
Any other questions?
I don't see the the upgrades with the pole vault?
Because right now, my submittals have just been on the turf surfaces.
Okay, that's what I
the
wanted.
field. They have not given me any submittals on the track, so this was the latest one that I.
Just on the turf,
gotten.
that's what I
Yeah,
thought,
so-
okay.
But that's a great question, because they've got to, again, give us the submittals for the track, which will then include the pole vault and lockdown
Yep.
areas.
Yeah, and I was just noticing that they still had the bleachers on that one.
They still
Yeah.
do. Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they want to throw that in.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Great.
Thanks.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we're down to school reports. Who would like to share tonight?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just have a report from Aspen Elementary School. Just 3 different things that we've been doing. One, we have our Muffins for Moms activity tomorrow morning, so that should be a lot of fun. It seems like this year, more than any other year, we've had a bigger turnout at every single event, which has been super exciting and really fun for us. Another thing we just had was we had our Aspen Family Book Club night. So the book was The Tale of Despero. I don't know if you have read that before. Were you able to read that?
Yep, we read it every night, and then they went to the movie. I missed out on the movie, but yep, they read it every night.
So yeah, we typically on these family book clubs that we have, we invite everyone to the school and do some activities that way. But for this one, we rented out 3 movie theaters. We paid for popcorn for everyone who came, and it was a super fun thing that we did. Also, we had a Aspen Positive Behavior Support Olympics. Those of you who know or may not know, typically during the winter time, particularly the month of January or February, things get kind of rough. It's super cold. Sometimes we have to stay inside way too much. So one of our efforts we had was to do Positive Behavior Olympics, and each classroom competed and really kept track of our positive behavior going on. So that was just a super fun thing that we did, and just to keep things positive and moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, Chris Brown, principal at Davis Middle School. Just a quick report from Davis and Evanston Middle School. Tomorrow night is parent-teacher conferences, and we'll have this that I'm giving you right now for our parents. Teachers will be handing this out and explaining it. This is just our next move. Remember, with high reliability schools, all of our schools are certified as level 1. This year, hopefully in the next 2 months, we'll all be certified as level 2. Level 3 is that we're working towards a guaranteed and viable curriculum, which we think we'll go through that one pretty fast because that's something we've been working on for 6 years. And then level 4 is standards reference reporting. Our elementary schools already do standards reference reporting. So as you get report cards from the elementary school, the standards are reported and how students are doing on those standards. They also report a citizenship grade. The 2 middle schools for 4th quarter will be piloting giving students an employability skill score. So here what you can see is what those skills that we're having students working towards are, and then just a little short fact area for parents to read. But that we'll be professionally developing our teachers. We have already, but we'll continue to do that over the next month, trying to get ready for April to be able to start reporting work habits. It will be a separate grade, so teachers will give an academic grade, as they always have, and that is not yet a standards reference grade yet. That is the next step. That will be next year that we'll be working on that. they will as well be giving then an employability skill score based on the criteria you see here. Any questions on that? Okay.
Good
And
job.
then-
I said, good, that looks good.
and then just the last thing I wanted to report, this last couple of months, as principals, as we're working very, very hard on certifying for level 2, one thing I wanted to report to the school board as a middle school principal, how impressed I have been with the principal at the high school, Merle Lester. He really, for me, has been a mentor through this process. In fact, my team just requested him to come over to our building this week to walk through his evidence. It really has been clear to me that he knows his teachers, he knows his school. When you think about graduation and prom, he involves parents in those decisions. He involves his staff in that. This year I faced a couple of discipline issues that I've never faced in 30 years. And the first person I called was Merle Lester, and he walked me through how I needed to handle it, what I needed to do, and in both situations, his advice was very sound. He is somebody who, in our evaluation system, we talk about having high moral character and integrity, and Merle Lester, for me, is one of those people. In the 15 years I've known him, I have never heard him once talk negatively about anyone, but specifically about his staff. He always has high praise for the work that the teachers are doing at Evanston High School. And then finally, I'm just proud as a parent that my kids go to a school, Evanston High School, that's led by such a fine principal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
I just want to mention our dance team. I know there's a lot of negative that came out of the state competition, but the girls got lost in that. They had a fantastic competition, finished second in classic and third in hip-hop-opotamus. They did a great job. They didn't get mentioned because there's a lot of other stuff surrounding that competition, and sometimes we forget the most important people, and that's the young people, and they did a fantastic job, and I want to make sure that I mention that to you guys. And then we had 2 swimmers this weekend break school records, place it at state. Fantastic job by them as well. So sometimes we get lost in the politics, and really it's not about politics, it's about our kids and their performances. So I want to make sure that I got that out there. So thank you.
Great, great.
Madam Chair, members of the board, just really quick, I'm very happy to announce that we have our teletherapy up and running. In every building, we've started to see kids. Our therapist, I believe, I shouldn't have even said this, I think Arkansas. But she is seeing kids. We're working through a few little glitches in the technology, which is to be expected, but we are seeing kids, and I'm just really excited that we can offer this level of support to our students. We've been getting referrals from lots of different sources, and doing our very best to get through all of those and make sure that we're staffing those students appropriately that way. So anyway, I'm really proud of this opportunity we're giving our kids, so thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That program has been really good, and I don't know, did you send out like any sort of memo or anything to some of the healthcare people around? I just happened to hear about it from Jenny Barker because I was asking her a question and she told me about it, and I've used it multiple times already.
Yeah. You know what? I would have to talk to Mr. We got a lot of Williamses in the district, so and not
Sometimes too.
Yeah, we're gonna just defer to Mr. John Williams, but I would have to ask Eric Williams if we've gone to that level. We have discussed it. I know there's been a lot of communication district-wide, and but if that hasn't happened, that would be great.
It's really helpful.
Awesome.
One other thing, Matt, have we established that auditory box that we approved about a year ago? Has that been up and running? And
Yeah,
that's
it's being utilized. It's utilized when we do screening specifically over north, and then our audiologist, Monica Weston, utilizes it beyond that for students with IEP needs, or if we have any that are on 504s that also have that, that also have the hearing situation going on. And if we simply just have students that we're suspicious of or nervous of, that's an opportunity that we can contact parents and get them in there as well. So, yep, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Any other school reports for tonight? Okay.
Okay, so as the student body president, I am very excited and proud to announce that we are going to be adding more fundraisers for Make-A-Wish this year, including an entire month of April dedicated to fundraising for Make-A-Wish. We will have a either school-wide or even community event that will happen every weekend, and we will be releasing those dates soon to our school and hopefully to our community through the newspaper. This is really a big step for us. Last year, some of you may remember that we implemented a carnival. We made a lot more money from that. We even finished top 3 in the state for fundraising for Make-A-Wish. So we believe that through implementing this new month that we can hopefully finish top 2 or even get first. So
Great.
thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to our discussion items for tonight. So the first item for our discussions is our 22 to 2023 certified contracts.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have a list of all of the schools and all of the certified staff that will be offered a contract before April 15th, which is required by law. Also on those, you can see those that will be moving from initial contract teachers to continuing contract teacher status. Again, this is just a discussion item this month. This will be approved next month, probably on the consent agenda.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Thomas?
So does it non-continuing contract personnel mean like they're not coming back?
No. The way it categorizes it, you have initial, which is first year, non-continuing means their second, third year, then continuing means they have 10.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next item is our report for our WSBA Board Legislative Forum and Legislative Session Update.
Well, Dr. Ingalls unfortunately was ill today. He was one of the individuals that visited, and so was Trustee Wheeler and Mr. Williams. So I'll let them lead the discussion.
Okay. Who do you want to go first?
Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you wanted to jump in there.
Oh, I'll jump in, but
I'll let Dan clean up. I'm not a political guy, but no, we had a great opportunity to go to the Wyoming School Board Association's. I don't even know what the official term is, but as we meet and we discuss, they discuss all of the legislative topics. And then that evening, we were able to spend some time with Senator Schuler. Others were invited. Representative Worf was invited. He wasn't able to attend, but we were grateful for the chance to talk to, like I said, Senator Schuler. A lot of our information that was gathered there is a little post more, I mean, it's kind of old news by this point, but I do appreciate the Wyoming School Board Association and their active role that they take part of in the legislative sessions from year to year. And they do a great job sharing the information, how the bills are coming, what kind of the hot topics are for education, and how they're moving forward that way. I can only give Senator Schuler kudos in her role that she is taking in representing UNT County and the state. I would say I appreciate her insightfulness to those things and especially to our school district needs. So it was, I think we're being represented well there. There's some bills on the docket that are worrisome and make you wonder about a few things. I guess I don't necessarily need to go into those specifically, but...
We're going to talk about some of those, right?
Okay. So I think there's great representation. I appreciate the value that from Senator Schuler that's being put on education here and throughout the school district. I think there's mountains to climb, but I think we're represented well. And what I appreciate as well is the data-informed nature that she takes when she brings topics to the floor, to keep those, to really let the data speak for itself on our behalf. So, Mr. Willard, what can you add to enhance?
Well, it's the first time I've ever been to the legislative part of it, and it's the second time I've been to a Wyoming School Board meeting, and I'm just impressed with what they do. And again, the preparation that they gave to us of all the bills that were going to be or had been presented, and it was interesting that, there's some that don't affect us a lot. Some we know are going to go away, so they didn't necessarily focus in on those. But the advocacy agenda that they had was equity and flexibility of local school districts, prepare for the future, support an educational program that provides students with a world-class education. School funding is extremely important, and then the school safety. So those were some of the highlights and things that they did, and it was, as Matt mentioned, it was good to meet with Senator Schuler and some real insight. And on Saturday, we traveled on Sunday, but on Saturday, I attended a Zoom meeting, and they had went over more of this advocacy agenda, and I'm impressed with what they do and the time they spend. And I was also, it was good for me. My background is not administration, is not education, so it was really good to 6 hours down and 6 hours back in the car with Mr. Williams and Dr. Ingalls, and that was good for me to understand some of the things that happened. So it was a good event. Enjoyed it.
Makes the driving snowstorm worthwhile.
Yeah, well, and
through the ice rink.
And Matt, he does all the driving, so that was really good. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I could, I thought it'd be important just to review some of the educational bills that are out there and the impact, the potential impact they have on us. Don't hesitate to lobby our local legislators. They do want to hear from you, and as an elected member, just like them, they will listen to you. So there are a couple out there that I would love to have you respond to them and encourage them maybe to move a little bit forward. So starting off with those is you have House Bill 1 and Senate File 1. These are the compensation bills, sets the educational funding. Probably the message with that is right now there is not an ECA, which is an external cost adjustment, which is cost of living adjustment for salaries. And I have responded to our legislatures and lobbied the fact that this inflation is the highest it's been in 40 years, and they have no cost of living adjustment in the model. I'll rephrase that. They have no cost of living adjustment currently in the model. There is one in the model, they removed it in the summer for a variety of reasons. We have not had a consistent ECA, cost of living adjustment, for the last 10 years. And for us, it's significantly impacting us because of declining enrollments. We've had reduced revenues. And so this is critical. There is 3 components to the ECA. You have one for energy, one for supplies, and then one for salaries. And the one they pulled off the summer appropriations committee was the salaries. So I've lobbied that they work to put that back in. There has been some amendments to put it into these 2 files, but they have not been successful. I'll also say there's been some amendments to pull off the other 2 ECAs, and that hasn't been successful either. So it's something we really need, something we need to make sure. And our legislatures, it is like preaching to the choir. They do support that, but it's something that will definitely help us as we move forward. So that's House Bill 1 and Senate File 1. House Bill 30, School Finance Increasing Cash Reserves. We did talk about this. This is important legislation because of the ARP funds. We have roughly $10.5 million that needs to be spent in the next 3 years. Our strategy, of course, is to make this, I'd say, revolutionary for our kids, but at the same time do the best we can with our general fund to buoy our declining revenues. So as we can spend on one-time purchases that would normally come out of general fund. That means that the general fund will slowly creep up. We're already almost at 15% in terms of our carryover, which is the highest that's allowed in the state at this time. This legislation, House Bill 30, would allow that to go to 30%. That means we don't have to spend all that $10.5 million in the next 3 years. So we can do one-time purchases, increase our cash carryover, and be able to use that additional cash carryover to move forward over the next 3 to 5 years. And so that's a pretty important legislation. It is, I think, good because what it does is it has a ending date. I believe it's 2026. It'll revert back to 15%. So districts will not be able to hoard large amounts of money in these ARP era funds. Boy, I think that's important legislation that seems to be moving forward. Senate File 31 is the absentee and truancy bill. Unfortunately, it doesn't do what we've tried to do over the last probably 10 years to support good legislation for absenteeism and truancy to help us improve attendance in our schools. So this really kind of flatlines everything. It allows the board to decide what is considered as excused and unexcused, what's a truancy. We've never really used unexcused because typically all absences are excused by parents. This would allow us to use unexcused. If you know the rule of habitually truant student, it's 5 unexcused absences. We work very hard to communicate with our local county attorney to deal with educational neglect. That's all part of this policy. What this will require if this goes through is that we'll redo all of our attendance policies and language that allows our principals, who are our attendance officers, to report quickly the students that are adversely affected by poor attendance. And so I guess part of me is happy that we'll have to redo these policies, but I wish they would have gone a little bit further and given a little teeth to these policies. Basically, the teeth now is we do our best to communicate with parents, to work with parents, to get kids to school. There's not much more than that. So it's time to look at our attendance policies, redefine all those terms, and do what we can to support kids in our school. So that's not a bad one. Senate File 32, K-3 Reading Assessments and Intervention Program. What this does is provide reading assessments for students with dyslexia or other reading problems. At first sight, it sounds pretty good, but what it does is it takes away local control from us. We already have reading assessments in place. They're very good. We also have a reading program, curriculum in place that's also very good. We've worked hard to do that. What this legislation will do is allow the Wyoming Department of Ed to determine which reading assessments we'll use and how often we'll give them, and which reading program we'll use locally. So it does take away local control, and it's something that seems to be flying through the legislature, and I'm really concerned about this one. So as you read it, you'll see kind of what I mean in terms of Wyoming Department of Ed determining what reading program we offer locally. In the past, it's always been us. Again, probably the premise behind this is someone saw the idea of dyslexia and wanted more for their children. Dyslexia is a reading disability. And we have great screeners for that. We have strategies for that in place, and our scores are really pretty impressive. I'd hate to see that all go away. The other thing we've done is tons and tons of professional development, millions of dollars at this point on professional development on our current reading program. If we're forced to change, all that will go out, and we'll have to provide professional development for a new reading program that our staff has not selected. Remember, we're into this collaborative idea. It's our staff that has determined these screeners and the curriculum that we currently offer. That's just a little unfortunate. So it takes away local control. That's the concern with that one. Again, face value, it looks pretty good. But I just think it's not going to help us. It'll hurt us. The only way it would help us if they picked the screeners that we use and the reading program we currently use, but the chance of that's good. Senate File 51 is the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. That is the one that's been proposed by Senator Schuler. I'd encourage you to take a look at that and what that does for our young women in sports. Senate File 62 is Civics Transparency Act, and also Senate File 103, Education Limitations of Teaching Critical Race Theory and History. These two are attempts to, I'd say, tighten up the curriculum in our state. Again, its face value sounds pretty good, but what worries me for the Civics Transparency Act, which has nothing to do with civics, it's a K-12 transparency program that requires our teachers to put on the website everything they teach, every resource, every book, I guess my point is this will be extremely great amount of work for our teachers. Right now, we already put the curriculum out for everyone to see on our website, but this goes beyond that. This actually requires that everything that you teach is put on the website. It takes away a little bit of academic freedom, I believe, and even the idea of the teachers. The curriculum is there. We follow the state standards. Our local curriculum has been approved. It takes away some of the flexibility, I believe, in the classroom. The concern is, of course, the CRT, critical race theory, and that's really 103. But at the same time, the worry is it takes away some of our local control to determine that. We've been pretty clear what's approved for our teachers, our state standards, and then our approved curriculum. That is what needs to be taught. Within there needs to be some academic freedom. And what I mean by that is I was a science teacher. 20 years ago, probably one of the most controversial topics was evolution. And again, we had individuals that fought every aspect of that. It was in the curriculum. We taught the curriculum. It didn't go into the evolution of man, it went into evolution. There had to be some academic freedoms because you have sophomores that ask questions that need to be answered. Again, answered factually, not based on your opinion, and that's one thing that has to be carefully done and we monitor. But these two acts, these two legislation, I don't think they do what they're intended to do again. So I'm not sure how this will work out for us. I know that the Civics Transparency Act will create a lot of additional work for our teachers. There was a fear that's out there that this would also open up liability to our individual teachers. If they're not teaching what is on their own website, can they be liable for miscommunication or lack of communication, lack of prep? I have not seen that in that legislation, but everyone that's a proponent to that has said that there is some liability issues. The idea of individual teachers being liable for what they teach in their classroom is dangerous. You won't get teachers to teach if they're going to be questioned every day what they teach and not teach, I guess. Right now, our teachers are protected by district liability insurance. They're also protected because they need to follow state standards and the approved curriculum. And then they are protected with academic freedom to use the tools they feel is necessary to teach those standards and that approved curriculum. So that was wordy, but again, if it did what was it intended to do, I probably wouldn't have any problems, but I think there's just too many questionable things in that legislation. Too much control that takes away from the board determining that local control.
So what's the purpose of the CRT bill? I mean, what's the underlying?
If you read it, and I'd encourage you to read it, it actually takes the opposite approach. What should be taught with racial relations? So it actually is pretty good, but again, it dictates something that the local school district, we're probably already teaching. And so I like the idea that it makes it pretty clear, teach this, not this, not this. But the whole point is that so CRT, critical race theory, is not taught in the school.
Okay, because I did have a question about that, and I brought this up with John maybe 2 or 3 board meetings ago, about the National School Board Association. I don't know if any of you have been following the news with that, but several states have opted out of supporting the National School Board Association. I think Idaho was one of the latest ones. I asked about the fees that we pay to the National School Board Association, because I don't think we should be supporting anyone with our money that is pushing CRT.
And I believe we opted out of those dues and fees this year.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because we should not be supporting that.
From pardon me, go ahead. From the Wyoming School Board Association, that's one of the conflicts they have, is what do we do? And there is another group that's forming that would do the same thing as the National School Board Association. So the Wyoming School Board Association has, we gave them some direction of what to do. The dues are not a lot. The seed money is not a lot with the new group. And I was looking here for notes to tell you what the name of it was, and I can't find it, but they are going to attend the convention, the Wyoming School Board people, at the National School Board Association in April. But we may see them be parts of both of those entities. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
And I know as a board, you guys decided not to attend NSBA this year, so the dues are there. I know they have new leadership. I have no desire to defend them, because, you know, part of the issue that you're talking about is the letter that came out when they identified parents as terrorists.
Yeah.
I know those individuals that created that are no longer with NSBA, and they have identified new leaders, one of whom is from Wyoming. And so I hope to see that they'll get back on track to what's really important in terms of supporting parents and education. What a shocker. So I don't know if our measly amount of money sends the message, but at least it sends the right message.
It may not,
Yeah.
but I just would hope that Wyoming is looking at following suit, you know, with these, because they need to have an understanding that Wyoming does not support that.
Anything else for that? Okay, thank you so much for sharing, everybody. Okay, so next item for our discussion is our support staff compensation system.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if you remember, this has actually come up several times in negotiation, especially this year when we did negotiations in May. We made some, I think, some necessary changes to our salary schedule. There were some questions about why, and we agreed as a board and administration to look into our support staff compensation system. Well, we believe this is the answer. Originally, we talked about doing it ourselves in-house. We knew there were some outside agencies that would do this at extremely large expenses. You were talking $150,000. But we found Patel for Kids, and this is actually on an action item to approve this. This is what Patel for Kids will do for us. They actually begin with a kickoff meeting. Their goal, we'll start with that, their goal is to create a new gold standard compensation system for our support staff. So they will have a kickoff meeting with administration, and hopefully a couple of board members can participate in that. They'll develop with that group a compensation philosophy, and what that means, well, there'd be a million different compensation philosophies. Right now, I would say our philosophy is to be competitive in the market. And we know we are with some of our probably salaries, but we're not with others. So we need to base that on something else. So we could have a compensation philosophy as we want the highest paid employees in Wyoming. We're not sure if we can do that. We want the highest paid support staff in the nation. Probably get some heck yeahs out there, but again, we will develop that strategy together. That will drive the work. Where they begin is they'll update our job descriptions. Our job descriptions, some of them are probably 35 years old.
Yeah.
And this is what really needs to drive the compensation system, is the work that is done. I can tell you the last time our compensation system was really gone into was 2005, 2006, and I led a group of support staff and administrators through that work. We made some changes, but even the work that Mr. Williams has done with some comparisons out there that we do have available to us, we see that some of our areas are really out of whack. So these job descriptions will help drive the salaries and the compensation system that will be developed. They will help us put those job descriptions, 35 basically job descriptions of our support staff, and more if we need. They'll come up with a job evaluation manual, and there are several deliverables in these that they provide us. Once they leave, we'll have in our possession, of course, the job descriptions are one. Let's see, they'll score those job descriptions, and that's really where they come up with the compensation system is, I guess, a hierarchy of what's needed to do the jobs. Biggest part of that is an external market study, and we've already started, John has already started that and provided some really good information. Last year we were provided, I think, every school district in Wyoming. John has actually extended that to see who our competitors are and who we compete with. It's really our schools our size in our region. We will extend a little further. Those that can be compared with our local community, we'll reach out to those. Some of our positions don't really match up with anything that's out there in the community. But anyway, that market study will be a huge part of that. So market analysis, they'll do all the statistical research, and in that they'll help us develop a new compensation system, pay bands. We call them lanes. We have 14 lanes. When we originally started this in 2005, we had 22 different columns. Well, we think we can definitely put those into service areas and go from 14 maybe to 7. John's looked at that. Again, we'll base that on what the market drives. And then they'll come up with a comprehensive, gold standard compensation system for our support staff. The process begins with a small group. You'll go to a group that has support staff, probably principal, these individuals that will facilitate this position. And what will come out is a compensation system that will have to go for negotiations in the board based on that. The challenge, and I think I've mentioned this every time, the challenge is when we made the changes in 2006, we were flush with money. And so we could place people on the salary schedule and give them increases. We're not flush with money now. So if we see that we're low in one area, how do we move some up? We wouldn't, of course, take salary away from anyone, but I think what it's going to show graphically is where we're high, where we're low with our competition. I don't think we're going to be high in too many areas. What John's already showed me is exactly what I assume, is we're low in probably every one of our areas compared to our competitors. And our competition right now is, you want a 4, you want a 6, Green River, Rock Springs, Kemmer, Star Valley, and where we fit in those. So the challenge, and I hope you guys see the challenge and why I was a little nervous about doing this in-house, is someone's going to have to make a decision that this compensation band requires these things and equals this amount of pay.
Yeah.
And we may be paying too high. You may have to stay at that pay band for a period of years until it catches up to where you are. I don't think we'll have very many of those. The other thing is, how are we going to move into this if we show all of our support staff categories are low? It may take us 3 to 4 years to get to where we need to. John's already showed me that to stay competitive in the market, our increases need to be 38 cents and above. Our increases now are 25 cents, which means every year we provide a step, we're falling behind the market. So that's one thing that this salary schedule will do, is we'll put a step that represents something to maintain a competitive market. John, again, is a master at this stuff, and so we will also look at the certified staff. Certified staff, I think, will be easier because the competition is very clear. You can contact any school district in Wyoming for the starting salary, and any school district in Utah, Idaho, Montana. That's one of the reasons why Senate File 1 and House Bill 1 are extremely important. If you heard the news recently, Governor of Utah did make a statement that he'd like to see starting salaries at $60,000 for teachers. And to me, if the governor was smart, talk about a recruiting strand. Who could we recruit if our starting salary was $60,000? We could recruit anyone in this nation to come here and teach. The philosophy of how they do that, some said, well, they'll go $60,000 for 10 years. Even if that was the case, it would take, our teachers that start here, 48.4, they wouldn't even get there in 12 years. They would still be below a starting salary of $60,000. What do you think our new teachers that are offered $48,000 would do if they could drive to Salt Lake and make $60,000?
Yep.
So I'm pretty impressed with the governor of Utah. I just told him he can't pull it off right away because we couldn't keep up. And he did make the comment kind of as he's opposed to something and he won't even consider it until salaries are $60,000. So I don't think he meant he's going to do that next year. But to me, that's what the goal should be in education.
Yep.
Is $60,000, a living wage. The other research I've read is to create a living wage for our teachers, the starting salaries would have to increase by 40 to 50%. So our teachers can afford a home. And I would say, very similar to our support staff. If we're going to be competitive in the market, it's going to take us a little bit further. What we can do is we'll have to explore that when we get down the road. But I believe this answers the question to what we've been asked for the last couple of years and what we promised in negotiations last year. The price tag is $50,000. My plan is, since this is, I think, a way we can retain quality staff, we potentially can use our ARP funds for it.
Good.
That makes sense.
When will it start?
Our first meeting is, do you remember? March 20th?
20th, that week.
That week. And again, we'd like one or two of you to be a part of that if you could. It's going to be, I think, some challenging work, but very interesting, especially a board member needs to be involved in that compensation strategy development.
Yeah.
I believe it's the 22nd, 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any questions? I'm actually, I've kind of been on the I guess, sidelines. This is actually Dr. Engel's thing, but I've been involved from the beginning. I'm really excited that it's not 150,000 we're looking at. And we met with them already to kind of just understand the scope of work. Pretty impressive group. Individuals we talked to are both, I'll say, ex-educators, and so know where we're coming from and know where our teachers and support staff are coming from. I hope when we get there that you approve this bid for this tough kids.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for you guys?
No.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to our public comments. Are there any public comments tonight?
Look at all that public out there.
No?
It's not.
Okay. Then we'll move on to our action items. Our first action item for our agenda tonight is personnel.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I believe you do have on-board docs. We have several different, let me see which one's first.
What if we don't want to approve that one?
Let's talk about the resignations first. Because that's kind of the order it is in this document. You'll see we have 5 resignations. These are teachers from a variety of schools. We recommend that you approve these resignations as in the packet.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the resignations in the packet.
Second. Okay, second by Jenny. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the next category is a lifetime of service stipend. We had 7 individuals that have applied for the lifetime of service stipend. If you recall, Again, the board put this together 5, 6 years ago through negotiations. It's something I'm actually pretty proud of that we do. This is a stipend for basically a career in our community. So it pays, it's not a tremendous amount, but a little more than they normally get as they would leave. And we had 5 certified staff apply. We had 1 support staff, and we had 1 administrator. Originally, our goal was 5 and 5, 5 certified and 5 support. And really, it's been pretty amazing. We've stuck pretty close to that. So what this works out, and I think you do have the calculator in your documents. Remember, we set aside every year $75,000 from the employee benefit fund. Because there's only 7, it's only $48,000 that will come out of the employee benefit fund. The rest would come out of the general fund as they normally leave. And how this works is they get $100 for each year of service, and instead of $40 to pay out for sick leave, it's $80. We'll basically double it. It's not a tremendous amount of money. We also provide a service. They can put this in an HRA and provide insurance expenses until the money runs out. I think it's just a good thing to do for our teachers, and like I said, put a career here. So we have 7. Their application also represents a resignation. The only difference with that is they do have until Friday to pull this application. But what you are approving is these applications and their resignations. So it's again 7 resignations. I'm sure Mr. Dickerson probably wouldn't want me to say anything, but he is an administrator that will be retiring. We'll miss George. Transportation department will miss George, and I'm really pretty jealous. That's all I can say. So, we haven't talked to George all day, so he's been smiling pretty. But I recommend that you approve these 7 applications.
Okay, is there a motion regarding the applications for the lifetime of service stipend?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Madam Chair, we do not have any certified contracts to offer, just kind of a heads up. We have already attended job fairs in Utah. They call it South and North, so one's at Utah State, one's at Brigham Young. Understand that the numbers were kind of low in Utah State, we're better at BYU. It's becoming more and more challenging for us to compete for teachers out of that part of the state. And I think it's just going to get harder. At one point, we'd put our starting salary out there, and other school districts would move away from our table. They don't move away from our table any longer. They can now compete us. So that's unfortunate. We do go to the Wyoming Job Fair. We'll take a herd of our principals because our goal is to recruit every graduate of the University of Wyoming and hire them that day. So these 14 resignations are 14 positions we need to replace. So we will begin the process of replacing our transportation director. It will be posted. We'll look locally, nationally. We'll have a team put together to interview and make a selection. And again, we always like to have 1 or 2 board members be part of that team.
Okay.
So that's all I have for personnel.
Okay. What about the administrative contracts?
You already approved those.
We already approved this, okay. It was just on this memo, so. Oh, you are right. Thank you.
So congratulations, Administrator.
Okay, on to our next item, which is permission to award bid physical therapy services.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we did receive 2 competitive bids for PT services. What I would recommend and what I encourage is I would like to table this. And maybe table is not the right word. I think a selection team that we have put together needs time to review these applications and actually make some phone calls and ask some questions about these service providers, just for our own clarification. One of those is that they meet the conditions of our requirements, bid requirements, which is mostly certification in the state of Wyoming. neither of the individuals provided that, so we want to check that who's ever going to be on the field has that certification that's required by the bid specs. The selection team will have a criteria, and we'll make a selection based on that criteria. Criteria is really simple. First of all, they meet the expectations of the bid specs. Second of all, it's a competitive bid. And third, that they can provide demonstration of professional competency. And unfortunately, the closing date was at 4 p.m. today, and we were a little busy. Dr. Ingles was gone, and so I recommend that we put a hold on this. I'd also like to encourage, or I'd also like to ask that as this committee works together, I'll be in contact with the board, but I would like to offer this before the next board meeting. So you guys would ratify it at the next board meeting and make sure to get permission. Our spring sports season starts Monday. And so this is work that we need to do. With 2 bids, I think we can come to a solution and a suggestion based on our interviews and the competitive nature of their bids. But I'd like to be able to offer this to a physical therapist, again, ratify it in April, and have them on site as soon as possible.
So
Concerns?
how long do you think that the committee needs to actually sit
Friday.
down?
By
Okay.
Friday.
Okay.
Like I said, we couldn't get together today. We had so much going on from 4 until 5. So, but I think we can get together by Friday and make contact, and then make a decision based on those 3 criteria I mentioned.
Okay.
If the board's comfortable with that, I would like permission to move ahead.
Okay. Is there a motion to award permission, to give permission to award the bid to the most appropriate physical therapy services, I guess, their bid based on the criteria listed by Mr. Thomas?
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions?
Just one.
Okay.
Can the board vote on ratifying, does it have to be done here once, in this, it can't be done in a special session?
No, we can definitely do a special session. What we've done in the past is just invited you guys to lunch, but it has to be posted. You have to go through all of the requirements. We can do it quickly, and we can do it really any time. We can get 5 members together. Like I said, if we probably had 4 or 5 different bids, I'd probably say let's do it that way. With 2, I think, and I'll actually share a document with you that has kind of all the things I talked about, and so you guys will be able to see too, and hopefully you'll agree with the decision made. The only place you can vote is in public, and so, like I said, the ratification would be at a regular board meeting. If you feel it's necessary, again, we can call a special session and do this. Like I said, we've had lunch meetings before, we've had meetings at 9 in the morning. Whichever is the will of the board, we want to do.
So remind me of the posting requirements, how many days for a meeting?
It's 4 meetings to go around, you'll be posted 3 different places. If you have 5 days or more, then you can come to newspaper.
Okay. So we could get it posted if we needed to.
We can post it Wednesday, but we would have to go around town and post it and sometimes on Friday.
What I would suggest is that we just do it on Tuesday. And like I said, the lunch meetings have worked in the past. We haven't had to do that with this board. But if that works, we just come in, we provide you lunch, and we take action based on what we have. By then, we may have other things you could take action on too.
Okay.
Yeah, my only concern is this has kind of been touchy subject since I've been on the board for a couple months. So
Well, we always want to do it right.
I know. Yeah, I want to make sure.
So I'm a little nervous too, but at the same time, having one board meeting a month, and the board also can authorize me to take action outside of the board meeting. as long as it comes back and you ratify it. It's really, truly what the board is comfortable with. I think Trustee Du Bois is very correct. This has been a touchy subject, and we may want to make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's.
But I think at the same time, my concern is we're starting spring sports Monday,
Right.
Yeah.
and then we have something in place for moving forward. I think it'd be a good start to be able to do that at the same time.
So prior to Monday, or
Prior to
like a
Monday or by
Tuesday?
Monday.
He said by Friday, right? Correct, you would have
This
somebody in
Friday.
place this Friday before next Monday.
So we could do a lunch one on Friday and,
We could, we just have to do some different things with postage. Sherry.
that's what I,
Get stuff out.
Sherry's going all around town.
Just drive around town,
Well, you said 3 places, right?
tack her on a tree, put it on a window,
Put 2 on my tree.
library, county building.
And it's just put like on the bulletin board, or, because I work at the county building, I
It goes
could,
right onto the website too. You know, once we do
That's
it,
posted
it
that
goes
way.
on the website so people can see it there. But then it's posted in the schools.
And how many people will be available?
if you do it
Yeah.
at lunchtime,
5
then I
people?
could do it
Is it?
on a Friday.
Isn't
On
6
Friday.
o'clock, 6 or 5?
It's 5.
5, okay.
I can do it Friday.
Please take me from work, yes.
And it doesn't just have to be 5, it can be
Yeah,
more of us,
all right.
whoever can make it, but it needs to be at least 5.
Right.
Any other further discussion?
Well, I think if we could get it done by Friday, then we can go that route.
Yeah.
Can we get it posted around the community by, how many days does it have to be? 3 days?
If it's less than the 5 days, you have to post it at least 2 days. prior.
2 days, so it'll have to be out on Wednesday.
We get it ready tomorrow, and I take it tomorrow.
And it's on the website.
And then it's on the website and then posted in 3 areas.
Okay.
So right now, on the table, we have a motion and a second to award the bid.
So
I mean,
To
not
give
award the bid,
authority,
but give
ratify.
permission.
The motion maker can recall that motion, correct? If you want to go into the motion.
I've always wanted to say nay.
Challenge them, yeah, they could do that.
You could go for a vote, or you can make another choice with your motion. Okay, I don't hear any other options for another motion, so let's go ahead. All in favor? Any opposed?
I oppose.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
I recommend that we make another motion
Okay,
to have a special board meeting on Friday at noon.
okay,
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion to have a special board meeting on Friday at noon.
okay.
I would second that.
And second? Okay, any other discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
So there we go on Friday.
There we go.
And I think the reason why we want to take a little time with this is for the very same reason. Give us a chance to get to know these individuals and their credentials and ask them some specific questions that we do have. So we are taking our time, we are going to do it right. I appreciate the board's willingness to do this on Friday. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, let's go ahead.
12 o'clock?
Yes. Will that work for
Salads
everybody?
or sandwiches?
Here?
Yeah. We'll just do it.
No
We'll just do it
sandwich-
right here.
No sandwiches for me.
Okay.
I can pick the bread off if I have to. It's not that big of a deal.
Salads it is.
Okay, on to our next item, which is to approve the Battelle for Kids Bid, creating the compensation system.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I recommend that you approve this contract for $50,000. Well, almost $50,000.
Almost, 49
Isn't it like-
something. Okay.
Isn't it like 58 or something?
No, yes.
49,
49.
5 or something
My
like that.
computer shut off, I think I lost batteries.
So,
Okay. Is there a motion?
I will move that we approve the Battelle for Kids bid.
For $49,968.
I'll second that
Can I
motion.
ask just one question? Just one question. How many years of experience has this company had doing this?
Several.
Yeah.
I don't know right off the top of my head there.
How we were exposed to this group is Dr. Ingles went to a training, and that's the first thing he said. This group was pretty impressive. And like I said, I think they've been doing it, and it's become more and more the thing to do, to have these outside organizations come in.
We saw them at the American Association of School Administrators, Personnel Administrators. Several years ago, then Dr. Ingles went through, he's actually been certified through the organization. We had them, when we hosted, Dr. Ingles was the president of the Wyoming Association. We had this group come to Evanston to do a presentation for the Wyoming School Personnel Administrators Association, and they are being invited back to Riverton this year to do another presentation. They're very highly regarded nationally.
I don't know if that helps, but.
I just Googled it. Battelle for Kids was established in 2001.
Wow.
She Googled it.
Modern day, I know.
Thank you.
And one of the lady that we spoke to, wasn't she a school board member for 20 years?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a long time. Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further questions or discussions? That was a great question. Thank you.
Kristen.
Sorry. Anything else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, down to our special services contracts.
You can come up and answer questions. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do recommend that you approve these special service contracts. Just to remember, these are contracts that are highly confidential, so you can, I guess, ask questions. These are placement of students for services outside of our district.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion to approve the special services contracts.
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming and standing over there.
No.
Oh, yes. It's a request to access the special education equipment.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is not as confidential, so you're welcome to ask many questions as you want about the equipment.
Okay.
It's old, it's not getting used. It needs to be.
I see on there,
Battelle.
is it just a coincidence with
Coincidence?
the same name? Battelle Development Inventory?
So, I'm probably not 100% expert on what that is, but my guess is it's a standardized test that is out of date, that is ethically not available to be used at this point.
Test book.
Okay.
So what do you do with it? All this
I'll try
stuff.
my best to recycle it and throw away what's not able to be
Take it
recycled
out of the
that
inventory.
way. And that's the important thing with doing this excess that way, is that things don't end up in the recycling center or in the landfill that has district labels that didn't go through proper accessing, because it doesn't, we don't ever want it to look like a waste situation, but to that point, that what I'm assuming that is, you just can't use them. It's not, like I said, ethical to use an outdated test, standardized test.
Okay, great. Is there a motion?
I can make that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Now we're down to technology. So we're now down to our approved technology purchases for 2022 through 2023.
Madam Chair, members of the board, as you can see before you, I've just put together a list of purchases that we typically make in July. As per policy, anything over $10,000, I get approved with the board so that we can make those arrangements with those vendors and get those things purchased as soon as we can. So any questions on the list that's been supplied to you?
what is Canvas?
Canvas.
Yeah.
Canvas is our learning management system. We adopted it 3 years ago, and it's used by our teachers K-12, and that's where they put their materials so that if you want to access it online or if you're sick. So it's been a great tool that our teachers have used and really adopted since the time of COVID. Great question, though.
Any other questions for Jaron? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the technology purchases for 2022, 2023.
Second.
Okay, second by Jenny. Any other questions or discussion for this? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Now, student privacy.
Each year, as part of compliance, I have to submit to you and get your approval on our student privacy. Also, making sure that we're SIPA compliant, which is Child Internet Protection Act. This allows us and the state to access the federal E-rate funds. And so I'm bringing before you kind of everything that we have, also documentation as to how we try and attempt to our very best to protect all students when it comes to the use of technology. Any questions with what is presented before you?
Is any of this really changed? No, okay, I didn't think so. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the student privacy policy?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the student privacy policy.
Okay,
Second.
second by Caleb. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes.
Thank you very much.
And
Appreciate
you
it.
don't get to sit down yet.
Stay there.
So we're down to approve the field turf contract.
Okay, field trip contract. And I can't remember, do we have that one?
It's uploaded.
We uploaded. What you have is what I sent to field turf right prior to the last board meeting. At 5:30 tonight, I got their signed portion of that contract. And so we should be able to move forward as per the agreement that we've made not to exceed our $3 million. As you see, this one is less than the $3 million, but we do have other expenses that we'll need to expense as we move forward with this project. So with that, do you have any questions in regards to the contract? It's a standard contract that we use through the state. And so Mr. Phillips, really familiar with those 62 pages and what we have there. So a little light reading.
So I guess, my question is to Mr. Phillips. Is that attachment associated with the contract?
Which attachment?
The attachment of the layout of the turf field?
That's not associated with the contract.
That is separate, okay,
So
all right.
that was just to give you
There's not
another
a, okay.
update.
It's
So-
not.
There's not an attachment part of the contract, okay.
I think last month, when the board members asked for an updated copy, so I asked Jared to include it.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
Very good question.
Just one question, and it may sound silly, but I've read all the 68 pages, so to speak.
Don't quiz me on it.
And I went into their their website, and they sell used or refurbished turf, and they sell new turf as well. I didn't see anything regarding whether it's new turf or used or refurbished turf. Just a question, I just went, well, I'm probably new, I'm sure it is, but it was just a question I had because I didn't see anything regarding, because they offer refurbished and new, so me, I'm thinking, is it refurbished they're putting down there or new? I don't know.
With what we've
Just a
asked in
question.
the layout, ours is new.
Okay.
And so we should not be getting any refurbished.
Right.
turf from there.
I'll get a double check on that, though, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a valid question.
I'll give Jed a call tomorrow and make sure, just say, hey, to get to the price point we needed, are you selling them used?
Yeah. And, you know, my non-lawyer eyes may have missed that, I don't know. Or the state of Wyoming in there.
With the proposal they submitted to me,
Yeah.
and if you'd like to see that, I think it specifies new on there.
Yeah.
I took their proposal and their numbers and then put it into this contract, and so, but if you would like to see the proposal they submitted me, I'd be more than happy
No, that'd be
to
okay.
share that. So, but I will give Jed a call tomorrow.
I trust the
and just
lawyers.
say-
Good question, though.
Yes, the question I have, Darren, is with the,
No one trusts it.
with the need of the track and
That's just
field,
bad business.
the soccer field and the football field, does it meet all the needs for each of those individual sports? Is this, or are we going to have to see any adjustments, or, I know you've probably looked at this 1,000 times, but with the expense, is it meeting the needs that we're looking for?
It's meeting the needs that we can with the area that we have, if that makes sense.
But it's
So-
going to be standard soccer, standard football, standard track, no variations there.
And then you might recall a previous conversation, the width of a soccer field can change, and we are not going to be at the maximum width. We're also not at the minimum width that's regulated by WHSA. So we're right in between, and so our coaches are comfortable with where we're at because it's actually wider than what they have at Evanston Middle School, and about the same width as what they were getting down at the Bear River.
Well, the width that we're getting is pretty much what's standard around the state, outside of Casper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting the 65 yards wide on with it, and then the 320 feet long. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I appreciate, great question. As far as track, the coaches and everything, it's standard for what we have there, and then a football field actually meets.
What's even better about the project that I think is better, and I gotta give that committee all the credit, it's not only gonna meet criteria that we have for our high school programs, but it's also gonna meet criteria that we have for our middle school programs. 2 different straightaways, extra long jump pits, triple jump pits, those types of things, so. It's going to be as good a facility as we could possibly get at this moment. So, yeah, it's fantastic. Again, the amount of kids it's going to impact is beyond what I think some of our community members are going to understand. When you're talking 240 middle school track athletes, that's what we've had lately. We've had middle school events that approach 1,000 student athletes. This facility will make sure that those kids are taken care of. So it's been well thought out, not because of me, because of coaches, because of these guys that are on that committee and Mr. Thomas. It's been well thought out, so it's exceptional.
Thank you. One question we didn't ask, is it new?
It said in the contract that it was new. I think when they talk about used, for example, a professional football team, they provide turf for them, or a college team. They change their turf out every year or 2. The turf is not used like for example, Sheridan High School. Their turf lasted 14 years. Everyday use, 14 years. And then a pro soccer team or college team, they would not use that turf for 14. They might use it for 2 or 3. It's still in pretty good shape, and they can sell that to a school district that might need, or a group that might need a turf at a lower price.
So our practice field, we can throw one up there as a used one?
When we get done with this one,
Well, then we'll talk about the one up on the hill. Okay, just throwing that out there, if we don't care about colors and things.
So the expectation is for this project to be finished August 19th, is that correct?
Yes.
It won't be, but that's, yes.
No, we're gonna have wishful thinking
Yeah.
that's going to.
I just really have one recommendation, this whole thing, and I know there's safety issues involved with regarding this, but to bring the community into this project, maybe set up periodically, safety-wise, tours of the community. Say, hey, people get excited about that, students get excited about that, because, doggone well, students will be out there poking their heads, seeing what's going on, so, just an idea.
I think it's a great idea. To your question, I met with Todd from Filter yesterday. He happened to be out looking at our site again, and asked him, I said, hey, so when are you thinking of starting? And he told us right now, there's 2 school districts who have pulled the plug and we're moving forward. It's us and Park City. So depending on who melts first, that's where they're going to begin. So I said I will go ahead and start moving the snow off the field tomorrow. Don't do that.
Do you have a lot of shovels? We can come out and help.
Can we rent snow machines
Yeah.
and put it on their field?
I hadn't thought about that. I'll get to.
They have snowmakers down there.
I've got a place. So I'm really excited because Park City's really close. And if Park City starts right before us, they could actually have their demo crew start and then immediately get
Come up here.
It's
Yeah,
not a
that'd be great.
huge transfer and setup. I mean, and so
Are they using the same subcontractor up in Park City as here?
I don't believe they will be. But I can't, I don't know.
I have no idea what they're doing.
To answer the question, why we be in competition, they don't allow anyone else to pour their concrete. They do this, it's post-tension concrete, they do it themselves. They have a special crew that does all of their post-tension concrete. And that's where the problem might arise. It's one group, they don't trust anyone else to do it. Before Jared sits down and jump in here, Coach Barker needs a lot of credit here. Roy Barker, because when we went to him with this project, he was the one that was going to be impacted the most. And I think it's because he's the head track coach, obviously. But even beyond that, he has a daughter that is one of the top track athletes in our state. And it is going to put our track team in a difficult situation. We're moving them to EMS. We've made some adjustments there. Jared's done a great job of getting some of those facilities upgraded. But Coach Barker needs a lot of credit because he's gone out to the public and to our coaching staff and said, hey, ultimately this is a great thing for our kids. It's not great for track right at this moment. It's not great for my daughter personally at this moment. But what it's going to do for our school community in the future, it's well worth it. So he needs a lot of credit, and I don't know that I've ever mentioned that amongst you guys, but he does need a lot of credit for allowing this project to move on with his blessing. And I think it would have been difficult for most people. He just did a great job.
Yeah, very well stated.
Great.
Yep.
Other questions you have about the contract or about the project moving forward, just so you know, one of the things that we needed to do as a district, because we wanted to keep them, was we yesterday took down the goalposts. They're going to be relocated down at the EMS build, and so that's been taken care of. Losing track of time here. Last week, met with the city, had all of our permitting done, so all of the grading permits, storm, all of that's been taken care of. Also got approval again with Mr. Pexton for the use of his property. We've got that till April 15th, and so again, another part so that Searle Brothers can move forward. We actually have a meeting this Thursday with Searle Brothers to kind of finalize, so that hopefully they'll be starting in the next week or two to get that dirt work moved. So there's a lot of intricate parts naturally that we have to do in preparation so that when field trip comes in, we're not hindering anything that they need to do. We've got all of our stuff done to move forward. So a lot of different things. I'll go back to who's on first. I don't know sometimes. We're trying to. Yeah, that's right. So lots going on, and as Mr. O'Neill said, we've got our coaches who've been fantastic in allowing us to move forward. We're disrupting them not only with this, but part of our water project. I'm disrupting the entire PE department and spring coaches by starting that early. We'll be tearing into the locker rooms as early as the first week of April.
Yeah.
So
A lot going on.
a lot going on.
Thanks for answering all of our questions.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the field turf contract?
There is. Madam Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the field turf contract.
Second. Okay, I'm gonna
Third.
second by Jenny and a third even. Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
And the
you.
community will thank you. I think it's a wonderful thing and excited about this, so really
Yes.
appreciate it. And I like your idea, Mr. Du Bois. We need to try to coordinate that to allow public to come up and view it when we can.
Have a groundbreaking.
Yeah, as soon as the serve voters here, we'll invite the paper and we'll
Yeah.
in front of those big machines and have a couple more members
Yep.
in and
Yep.
the gold shovel and let the community know we started.
You could even do,
Can we give Ms. McGuire access to the top of the school so she can take a picture of the
Yes.
progress as it?
Well, we do have
When it's really cold this time of year?
If you got a drone, that'd be great.
we do have
We
a
do have a
drone.
drone, I know, that's what I'm saying. It'd be kind of not
We could do
cold
like
to
videos.
have the
like,
progress
and
of
put
it.
it on our
Yeah, we
Facebook page.
Looking like, yeah, add more trailers. Totally read you there.
we'll see what we can do to work on that. I think, if once a week I've got a place that we could at least take a photo and then put something together. It just
Cool.
would be really good.
Be
So
great.
we'll work on that. And if you'd like to ever get on top of the building and take a shot, there's a rip access, a little ladder. Make sure we get you up there safely.
I know it's not, I've been up there, so.
You're not gonna fit through.
No, I don't fit up through there, no, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Dickerson, come on up for our permission to purchase buses.
And he is smiling.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this might look a little confusing, but I tried to break out all the costs, and we had 2 buses on a DARA application, and one of them broke down hard, and when I talked to WDE, they just said, just drop it from the DARA grant, we'll replace it on a life cycle since it's reached that time period anyway. So it'll still be reimbursed, it's just the state won't get their 25% from DARA, so. But it was their suggestions. The $10,000 plus, it has antifreeze and the oil, the fuel in the antifreeze.
Oh, jeez.
It's, could go much higher than that, so that was just a preliminary estimate. So anyway, that's what it all comes down to. The one thing that you see that's new is a non-reimbursed vendor surcharge. This is what they've done to take care of the cost increases they've had since the bid was released in November, and the cost increases that they anticipate coming into when it's delivered. And what this particular company has done is taken that, and they got the Thomas built themselves to take what they anticipated and go half. So they basically reduced it by half. Bluebird was going to do the same thing, and then as John has told me that has changed, and they're not going to have a surcharge, but you can't order the buses until next year. So they're basically going to absorb the cost that way by putting a higher cost on the bid. So either way, we'll pay for it. But unfortunately, it looks like there'll be about 8,100 that's non-reimbursed.
Non-reimbursed.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the bus purchases?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the best purchases.
Okay, first,
I'll second that motion.
and a second by Joel. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, George.
Okay, we're down to student discipline.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I recommend that you approve the discipline of an unnamed student that was discussed in executive session.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, down to our board roundtable. Does anybody have any comments or anything that they'd like to share with the board tonight?
I do.
Okay, Mr.
Yeah, and this is, I think this is important that I relay this. On Thursday night at 6 o'clock at the Roundhouse will be Entrepreneur Night. And we have a company that is located here called Echelon. And Echelon is in the early stages of climate and data control. They have 2 startups that are also centered here in Evanston, one called Aonics and one called High Tide. And I don't know a lot about startups, but they've done some pretty good things. The lady that'll be here with Echelon is from Atlanta. She comes from Atlanta. Atronics will come from Stanford, and High Tide will also be here from Stanford. On the panel will be Kylie Ingersoll from the Wyoming Business Council. We'll have 2 people from Impact 307 from the University of Wyoming. And then we'll also have Cody Bateman, who is a local man that is the State Bank of Wyoming, which will be, and all of these are located at the old post office. And so I think I had a brief discussion with Superintendent Rigby. A lot of times when you have these type of businesses that come to your community, they like communities that have a 4-year college or they have a junior college, and we have neither. So I think there is a tremendous opportunity for school district number 1 to be involved and take up the slack and fill in for the lack of a junior college or a 4-year college. So I'm very interested in how we can do this and maybe create jobs for our students and maybe jobs in the future where we get students that get a college degree and they can come back. So I think, so I would like to invite everyone, if you can, to attend and find out some things that are pretty amazing. And the people that are involved are, I've met them, and anyway, that's my pitch for that.
What was the date and time for that?
It is Thursday night, Roundhouse, 6 o'clock. And it's, actually it starts at 6:30, but there's a meet and greet, and I think would be important to do that, so, yeah. And then, it's late. I had something that I was gonna read tonight, but I think I'll save it for our next meeting, so we can go home.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would just like to express my thanks to George. I'm sure he's looking forward to it, but I was really sad when I found out you were going to be retiring, so I appreciate all the hard work and dedication that you've given to our district over the years, and we'll miss you.
Very much.
Yes.
Thank you, George.
Got you for a couple more months. Did you have something?
Well, Jenny, again, everybody's been stealing my thunder all night. I don't know what's going on. But I know, I'm a little slow. I don't know what's going on.
Don't steal your thunder all the time.
Whatever. No, but yeah, I was going to, congratulations, George. Very, very good. You've been absolutely wonderful for this district, and going through there, your drivers and your support staff and everybody that's come through you has been awesome. So thank you very much. Yep.
And with all of those retirements, we have some long-standing teachers that are leaving, that are,
Impressive group.
yes.
I probably should have mentioned, we are going to, a tradition that we kind of backed off last couple of years, we are going to have a retirement dinner.
Oh, good.
Good.
And we'll give you guys a chance to.
Everybody gets their bells.
Yeah, they get their bells.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll do that today.
Great, awesome.
Great.
Wonderful.
A couple of them I wanted to just deny. and see-
One of the things that I learned
Shoot, he was saying.
at the Wyoming School Board was one of the school board members from Teton County told me that they have at least 50 teachers that they're going to have to replace because they cannot afford to live in Jackson.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so our problems are a little less.
We'll take 14 versus
Yep, 50, yep.
Yep, definitely. Okay, well, it doesn't sound like we have anything else, so we'll go ahead and close our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, we're done. Thank you, and everyone have a great night.
All I heard was Jackson.
I won't go.
So I heard that they are building housing for teachers up there.
All I heard was Jackson.
They just bought property, they got property to build houses.